the people that live in East Palestine, that other folks can fix their mouths, as my grandmother would say, to dare deny those people just the basic humanity that they deserve after this catastrophe. So Bree is absolutely right that we should not be worshiping people, and we should have the courage to call people out. And more importantly, we should have the courage to stand up for justice and truth, no matter who it is for and who it is against. And David, stunningly, I did not know until I started to dig a little deeper that I knew that a white man had lifted her up, but I did not know that they strategically picked that to be the reason why, to show both in symbol and also in substance that we are all in this together, and that justice does truly transcend gender, race, and other identities.
Yeah, it is so powerful. And I'm also struck by, I mean, Bree is of a sort of a younger generation than mine. And you know what, it's so easy to get depressed and to be pessimistic about the world around us. But when you see people like Bree, younger people who are doing the right thing, who have the right perspective, who are making their communities, their society, everybody better and lifting everybody up together, that's what just gives me sort of renewed hope that, you know, justice, I think, eventually will prevail. It's gonna take a while, but it's because of people like Bree, because of Stanley and the previous story, because of folks like that, we are gonna make change. And some people are gonna go kicking and screaming against it, but you can feel the momentum starting to build. And that just makes me so inspired.
Yeah, I am inspired as well, David Schuster. Yes, Bree inspires me. And I happened to run into her a few years ago. I was on the presidential campaign and we were at the airport together, and we both admire one another and just were in awe that we were seeing one another, and we took a picture together. So definitely in awe of Bree Newsome Bass, and her work is just beginning. She is very much in the fine tradition of the freedom fighters that have come before her, and as we can see, just straight up in her family line, as well as other ancestral forces that we talk about a lot on Unbossed. Well, I want to thank David Schuster. It was so good to have you in the house today on Unbossed. We cannot wait until you can be with us again. We know how busy you are. You are in high demand, David Schuster. Let the people know.
Look, it is a pleasure to be on Unbossed. It's great to be with you, Senator Turner, and your entire team. A great show, and thank you for having me on.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. Where can people find you on social media? Where do they go?
On social media, at Twitter, at David Schuster. You can find the videos on Rebel HQ, at YouTube and Facebook. Just do a search. Type in David Schuster Rebel HQ on YouTube or Facebook, and the stuff will pop up whether you like it or not. And we love the feedback. We love to hear from folks about what they like, what sort of videos, what sort of topics. We do a lot of stuff about police interaction and constitutional rights, Black Lives Matter, race relations. We also do a lot of politics. We sort of run the gamut. So you can check out the videos, Rebel HQ, Facebook and YouTube. You can find me on Twitter at David Schuster. Let us know what you think, good or bad. We welcome everything.
What? You mean you will take folks who say, David,
absolutely, we got thick skins. You gotta have thick skin in this business, right?
Yeah, some of your videos that I have really enjoyed is when you go into Trump country and talk to some of the Trump voters. I mean, I'm gonna tell you something. If you have never seen, put Schuster back up side by side with me, please, team. If you have never seen Schuster talking to the Trumpsters, baby, you missing it. I mean, it is just a thing of beauty that they trust you and they telling you exactly how they feel, and that too is a great thing for them to be upfront and honest. You know, get that stuff out, even if I may not agree with them. I need them to get that stuff out. And David,
I keep biting my tongue and it's bleeding, but you just keep doing it.
Yeah, no, you do. So I need people to go and watch some of that stuff. So thank you so much for being with us today. We appreciate you. You know what I want you to do around this time. I want you to keep the faith, and I certainly always want you to merge that faith, to couple that faith with the fight. Until next time.
Welcome, friends. Welcome, family. What's up? Welcome to the watch list, you guys. It's a Tuesday edition here in beautiful Los Angeles. The rain has let up. People are now not afraid of leaving the house. A little more excitement out there on the roads. Glad you guys are with me as well. I made it in. We have a lot going on today. As usual, and we will usually start with our vegetables before we get to the dessert. But good news on top of this, just to start with this, good news. Wosny Lambre joins me on the show today to speak on all of these topics, you guys. Woz, fresh off of vacation, coming from the sun, been relaxing, drinking drinks with damn umbrellas in them.
Yes.
Stuff indeed, like that.
Indeed. I was just in Jamaica, spent a couple of days there, went to a nice wedding. Shouts to Jay, shouts to Rosalind, the beautiful newlyweds. Also, I'm now in NYC, where we are thankful for the rain because it's not snow.
Exactly. I mean, it's all relative. It's a matter of what is it you bought. In New York for a while, I'm curious. I did notice a different background, but I didn't want to intrude on your privacy there, bro.
Yeah, I'll be in New York for a minute, man. I'm spending some time with some family, some loved ones, some friends. So I'll be on the north side for a little while now.
Good stuff out there. I haven't been to New York in forever. I should go back. It's fun times. I can't stay longer than 2 weeks or else I'll lose my damn mind. Let's go ahead and get into these stories though. Considering people losing their damn minds, it's everyone as they're hearing more of these revelations coming out from this lawsuit that Dominion has on Fox News, the $1.6 billion, which apparently could be more. Let's start here.
When you go beyond reporting and your chairman admits there was endorsement, then that opens you up to liability under the actual malice standard. And Wolf, it's not just $1.6 million. If the jury decides that this conduct was egregious enough, and much that is in here continues to be shocking, that's bristling almost 200 pages, every page has a Perry Mason moment. If the jury decides that it was bad enough conduct, they can double or triple that $1.6 billion or go even higher. So I think there's very serious legal exposure. This is one of the most devastating depositions that I've ever seen.
One of the most devastating depositions that CNN's legal analyst Norm Eisen has ever seen. He even pointed out how that 1.6 billion could be more if they've determined just how devastating this is. It's all this news floating around after Rupert Murdoch, as they're now gonna have figured out, testified and tried to defend his network. But as you look at some of those details of what he did in defending his network, you'll also notice the people he did not defend within his network. Let's watch that.
Rupert Murdoch, he acknowledges that some of his top hosts over at Fox News were peddling false election claims. In it, Rupert Murdoch is asked by Dominion, you were aware now that Fox did more than simply host these guests and give them a platform, correct? And Murdoch goes on and it says, in fact, you are now aware that Fox endorsed at times this false notion of a stolen election. Murdoch says, not Fox, but maybe Lou Dobbs, maybe Maria Bartiromo as commentators. And then it goes on and they mentioned Jeanine Pirro, a Fox News host. He says, I think she did as well. Louis Dobbs, a lot. Fox host Sean Hannity, a bit. And then it goes on to say as well about Fox endorsing the narrative of a stolen election, correct? Rupert Murdoch answers, no, some of our commentators were endorsing it. And the Dominion says about their endorsement of a stolen election. Rupert Murdoch says, yes, they endorsed.
So all that Oliver Darcy there was pointing out through these back and forth with Rupert Murdoch that he had, it sounds like he's totally throwing the network under the bus, which I think has been the headlines going on. But really what it is those certain Fox head or hosts that he did toss under the bus in order to help the network. Let's look closer. First of all, though, is the reasons why he was doing this in this manner was to protect them from this lawsuit. So to prevail, Dominion has to show not only that Fox broadcast false information, but that it did so knowingly. That's the big part about these defamation cases, which are why they're so hard to prove and why all these things have to be put forward. Let's look at a screenshot of what Darcy was pointing out there in the middle. Because that question in the middle where he said, are you aware that Fox endorsed at times this false notion of a stolen election? If he answers yes to that, that means he's saying his network knowingly did it, therefore they're culpable. He's saying it right out there. But he said, no, not Fox, not Fox, no, not Fox, not Fox. And look at the names he tosses out there: Dobbs, Maria Bartiromo, even Janine Pirro. So it's them, not the network. Next slide, though, you guys. Again, they ask him in the middle, yes, about Fox endorsing the narrative of a stolen election, correct? And he goes back to no. Some of our commentators were endorsing it. So he's trying to push this whole thing that commentators, not us, commentators, not us. So in the room full of these bank robbers that have just gotten away, they thought, with all these bags of money, eventually start snitching on each other. And what Murdoch is trying to protect is that network, not those hosts who were used by Murdoch. And of course, they believed it too. And they, don't get me wrong, they benefited greatly monetarily from these lies that they told, as you could see from those emails and text messages that Hannity and Tucker and Ingram and all of them were tossing around. So of course, Donald Trump stuck his nose in this whole thing because he doesn't like how this sounds. Let's look what he said over on Truth Social. Why is Rupert Murdoch throwing his anchors under the table? I thought it was the bus when you're under the, anyways. Which also happens to be killing his case and infuriating his viewers, who will again be leaving in droves. They already are. There is massive evidence of voter fraud and irregularities. In the 2020, he says the same stuff. He says, watch 2,000 Mules. You'll see large scale, the same stuff. It doesn't mean anything. Also that it's rigged. Any opportunity he has to try and throw these nonsensical comments into the discourse, he will do, because he did it again a couple hours later. He says there's so much voter fraud and irregularities in the 2020 election that it amazes me how weak and ineffective Fox News is at portraying itself in the lawsuit against them. They look too scared and frightened to reveal the massive amounts in the same stuff again about the voter fraud and the voter fraud and the voter fraud again. And now we have a third world country. So he's back to just going on his own narrative about himself, but he doesn't like how Fox, potentially, because I don't think he understood what was going on here, is calling out the lies he was telling and how they didn't believe him in the first place. There's a lot more to this, but first, this part. What's your thoughts here, Waz?
Oh, sorry. I thought we was kicking to something else. It's just this lawsuit has the potential to be quite groundbreaking because it sort of tracks with the trajectory of the Republican Party, right? And Fox News as its public mouthpiece. Like, it's okay to go and say maybe Obama didn't do as well at his grades in his Ivy League school, or that was he really born in America, and there will be death panels for Obamacare and all of that. It's okay to speculate on that kind of stuff. It's a different matter, all around, to accuse a company, a corporation essentially, of committing felonies and fraud when this is how they make their nut. This is how they make their money, right? Is executing the counting of these votes accurately and effectively. And when you go on your network to millions of people and you question the efficacy of their business, and not only that, you accuse them of knowingly committing a fraud, this is a whole different matter, right? Like, this is different from rumors and conjecture. This is different from calling welfare people greedy and stupid and annoying. You're talking about a specific entity and saying that they committed a crime, and knowing that they didn't, right? In order for views and to curry support from Donald Trump. And yeah, this has the potential to have massive repercussions. And I think it's part of why they're moving away from Trump. It's like, in order to follow you, in order to support you, we have to go down the most insane rabbit holes, lies, twist ourselves into, logical knots in order to do so. And so, yeah, this is crazy. And I think that last part about Trump is kind of funny, where he's like, there's all this proof that they were telling the truth, and yet they're being sued for billions and billions and won't present it. It's like, so you're saying they just want to give away billions of dollars, Donald? Like, what are you doing?
It's not helping is what he's doing. And like in everything else, like what happened in Georgia at those elections, which we've seen Murdoch also say, we've got to focus and help in Georgia. Help one particular political party in Georgia is what he said. So by the way, so the table is set here. Rupert Murdoch wants to protect the network and not some of these hosts. He definitely still looking to kind of protect Hannity and Carlson and those guys because they make big money for him. But there's this other instance here, because they're trying to separate the Fox organization from these hosts. And the reason being, of course, because of the defamation stuff. A little bit more from the inside about how this may work. Lachlan Murdoch, who's the son of Rupert, and is also part now owner, now CEO, I believe, at Fox News, ordered a network anchor to be reprimanded for challenging Donald Trump's bogus voting fraud claims, is also what these court documents then showed. Fox CEO Lachlan Murdoch said journalist Leland Vittert's, quote, anti-Trump views were smug and obnoxious. Again, that's according to the legal filing that's made as part of this $1.6 billion lawsuit from Dominion. So if it's just the hosts, why did these top people then talk about how Leland Vittert wasn't doing the right thing? It sounds like it's an organizational thing. As a matter of fact, let's take a look at Leland Vittert being smug and obnoxious, according to the bigwigs at Fox News.
What do you want to have happen with those 700,000 votes? The ballots are already mixed in. Do you just want 700,000 votes deducted from
We want to
Biden's
make sure
total?
that conversation happens. You're trying to say this is done and over. The
I'm not. I'm not saying it's done and over. I'm asking you where you're going to find the votes to pull ahead. Where are the votes to pull ahead?
Forward. This is now my third time to try to get this answer out. The legal path ahead exists here because there are clear constitutional violations that have to keep snarking, making your faces and rolling your eyes, Leland.
Take me through.
I get it. You guys spent years trying to run up a Russia hoax against the president.
It's very simple.
And trying to say this is over.
How does the president?
And the hypocrisy continues because you know what?
How does the president
said,
pull
don't
ahead?
concede to Joe Biden.
What do you want to
now
have happen to the 700,000 votes?
That this is over for us. It's ridiculous.
What do you want to
have? What happens to the 7?
What do you want to have happen to the votes?
Decide, Leland.
Okay.
That is up for the court to decide. But we should be able to have the conversation about those votes when you're trying to say this is done and over.
No, nobody's trying to say that. I'm just simply asking you.
You guys keep calling president-elect. It sounds like you guys are certainly saying it's over.
I don't know who you guys are.
Damn. So he was being smug and obnoxious apparently there. So from the top, they say that. And as you guys, I don't know if you guys know this, but Leland Vittert no longer works at Fox News. He left in 2021. He's over at News Nation, I believe, now. I think that's a big part about this too. So last thoughts?
Yeah, if you're telling your anchors to go out and peddle something that you know has no way to be proven, and you're not presenting this quote unquote information as such, it's like it's uncorroborated. There's absolutely no proof. We have no way of confirming this, but the leader of the free world or the guy who had that job for 4 years, it's claiming that this happened. So it's, we have to talk about it. But as far as the accusations itself, we don't know how valid they are, if there's any validity. And that's how we're gonna present them. Instead, they wanted to bring people on that would represent Donald Trump's ravings as absolute fact. And anybody who pushed back against that, like our friend Leland there, got stomped on.
Leland Vittert. It's a fabulous name. Name your children that maybe. Let's go on to this next story though, you guys. There's more happening here with our elected officials, specifically these Republicans in some of these committees. Man, they're really trying to own these libs. The problem is they don't own the research. Let's start here.
One of the very first committees, the very first committee hearing of this Congress, Mr. Gates, after we had all agreed on what the committee's plan was gonna be, it was gonna be voice voted, everyone agreed, Mr. Gates wanted to offer an amendment to say the Pledge of Allegiance. That's great. Every single person on our side supported that. Now, I don't think he really genuinely cares about saying the Pledge of Allegiance, but he wanted to do it, again, to own the libs and to see if we would vote against it. We didn't. But who did he bring in here to say the Pledge of Allegiance? Who did he parade in here in a uniform? Corey Beekman. Corey Beekman in 2019 was in a standoff with the Michigan police after he was arrested and charged with murder, assault with intent to commit murder, and 2 counts of felony firearm possession. The family of the victims said Mr. Gates doing that, it was like getting a dagger stuck in our heart again. That's why there's a trust deficit here. You pull off a public stunt to try and own the libs, and what you did was you brought in a guy who allegedly shot 2 people and killed one of them.
Here's Eric Swalwell calling out Matt Gaetz, because as you guys can tell in Congress, after Republicans had that slight majority after they campaigned on fixing everyone's lives, because the inflation issues, the way that they're coming for your children, the way they're coming for your religion, they're coming for everything. They're debating about the Pledge of Allegiance, and apparently since they have that, that was a gimme for them to start all these hearings with the pledge. The problem is Matt Gaetz brought in this guy who apparently shot 2 folks. That's the guy who's reading the pledge for them because they just want to show how patriotic they really are. There he is. He's been he was accused of that, and we'll talk about how he got off from that. But there's an ironic part about how this whole thing even led up, because Representative McClintock was talking about how they're trying to get someone in there, and he goes, "It's not like we're crazy. We're not bringing in someone who committed murder." No lie, he said that. Watch.
I think we should all agree no one who has participated in insurrection should lead the Judiciary Committee in the Pledge of Allegiance. So it shouldn't be complicated to accept this amendment.
Nobody who committed murder is going to be.
Well, then you should vote for the amendment.
Well, again, not legally, because he was then let off the hook, of course. A little info on that. Corey Beekman was charged with killing Billy Buchanan back in April of 2019, but the charges were dropped after a key witness refused to testify. Beekman has since moved to Florida and was invited to DC by Matt Gaetz, where he led the House Judiciary Committee in that Pledge of Allegiance. He was recognized for his time serving in the Army National Guard. And I think is also, Swalwell pointed out, the family was devastated by this of Buchanan, who was then killed. And she said it was like a knife to the heart of our family. We were infuriated when we first saw it. It was devastating to know that somebody with this hanging over their head was being praised as a veteran, a hero. It's like they didn't know who they were inviting into those halls. But still, I guess to his credit, Matt Gaetz said, "My bad, bro." He said that when a veteran contacts his office, our first thoughts aren't, "Let's run a background check," or quote, "I wonder if this person had any run-ins with the law that might make someone else look bad." I have a good idea, Matt. Modify that approach and maybe start. Or how about not even a background check? Because I think what many other folks did was they typed his name into the Google bar, and then all this stuff came up. I guess they figure anybody that comes in that's an Army vet is on the up and up. This is how this works, Waz. This is the approach that many of these folks wanted once they got into office, to go through these proceedings and say, look how much better we are, vote for us again. Nothing about actually helping Americans. Matter of fact, when they do some kind of work, it is definitely about destroying more folks' lives.
Yeah, Matt Gaetz is clearly a freaking clown. Just the idea that he would try to pull this stunt, and like what counts as grown-up people in the Republican Congress, they indulged him and then they got burned for it. Nobody should be surprised by that. But this goes back to what we said in the first segment, JR. This is the Republican Party as it stands right now, and this is what counts for governance. That's the crazy part about this, right? Like Matt Gaetz, I'll say this, it's nice to have dumber enemies, because Mitch McConnell, he is not, right? Like when you think about Mitch McConnell, and we could take it back to the Obama era where he's just telling Obama to take a long walk. I don't care about your Supreme Court justice nominees. I don't care about 100 years of precedents. I'm gonna screw you. I'm gonna knife you right in the throat and move on with my life. We're talking about just diabolical political maneuverings. Matt Gaetz is inviting guys who shot a guy to sing the freaking national anthem so he could look like he loves America more. Like, this is pathetic.
It's not the only pathetic thing. Really fast, I'm gonna squeeze this part in, because this was a couple weeks ago when he started with the pledge, but just as they're doing their next hearing, the hearing that they were doing as of yesterday, they also they had issues with whether or not this whole back and forth exchange that Matt Gaetz thought he had a gotcha moment for, about, again, his sourcing problem. Let's watch this.
Is the Azov battalion getting access to US weapons?
Not that I'm aware of, but if you have information,
I seek unanimous consent to enter into the record the Global Times investigative report that that talks about training. It's from the Atlantic Council's Digital Forensics Research Lab, citing that the Azov battalion was even getting stuff as far back as 2018.
Without objection, so ordered.
Any reason to disagree with that assessment, Dr.
Is this I'm sorry, is this the Global Times from China?
No, this is,
That's what you read.
Yeah, it might be. Yeah, would that be a reason?
As a general matter, I don't take Beijing's propaganda.
Well, no. Yeah, but just tell me if the allegation is true or false. I mean,
I don't have any evidence one way or the other. As a general matter, I don't take Beijing's propaganda at face value.
Fair enough. I would agree with that assessment.
Fair. That's fair enough. Hey, would you take maybe this BS acknowledgement that I gave? Would you confirm or deny that? He goes, I don't know, it's your stuff, bro. So apparently he was trying to land him on the Azov battalion. It's a controversial far right battalion within Ukraine. He's like, are they getting our money? He goes, well, bro, who are you citing saying that they are? Not to my knowledge. He goes, oh, my bad. I was citing Chinese propaganda net papers and publications.
You know what's crazy, JR, is like generally speaking, I do think we need to question all the funding we give to military and war efforts. 100%.
I agree.
People in Congress should be doing that. But again, even like you want to make Matt Gaetz your ally in that, like good luck. Holy moly, man.
Do it for real. I mean, if this is the last thing, I'm sorry, we're way over. But yo, if you've got an issue, claim it for real. If you don't, find one then. Don't make them up. All it does is make folks who don't trust you go, okay, that's solidifying why I don't trust these folks, because they literally have nothing legitimate to say. It's all lies.
And I'm not somebody who's like, oh, we need to discredit everything that's ever come out of China from now and heretofore, right? Like I don't buy the red baiting nonsense that we're doing with China either. At the same time, we know that they put out state-run propaganda. Like it's a known fact. These Hollywood people can't even put a movie out until they get, absolutely everything okayed by the CCP, right? And so like we know that they care about media and messaging. This is not like conspiracy, right? This is what they do. So like Matt Gaetz not understanding this is it's unbelievable.
Maybe it's just subconscious because this publication is considered the Fox News of China. So I guess it's all comfortable. Let's take this first break. A few of your comments when we come back. But also after that, we've got the governor of Tennessee has been busted. No, he's not George Santos dressed in drag, but he did dress in drag as he pushes a bill to outlaw it. Let's do that story and a bunch more when we come back.
Welcome to the Damage Report. I'm John Idarola. This is gonna be a big one. Meanwhile, in the Arctic, you know where this is going. You watch the Damage Report, the Arctic's on fire. Obviously, why would we be talking about the Arctic except to tell you that it's melting once again? The Republicans aren't that interested in it. I wonder why. Lift out of poverty up to 3.7 million people, including an estimated 1.3 million children. Hashtag save the children? Not if it costs money. I mean, come on.
What's happening? I'm Dr. Rashad Richey, host of Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Richey. Here's the bottom line. I play no games about policy, period. Too many people's lives are at stake. So here's what I do. I challenge conservative ideology that hinders the growth of this country. I make sure we place our facts in proper context, and I have no problem debating anyone on a position that I have. Progressives have the ideas to change the world, but when you really look at it, progressives have always change this world for the better. I want you to tune into my new show, Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Richey, right here on the TYT Network, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 11:30 a.m. Pacific Time. I'll see you there.
Everything that we've accomplished over the years is because of our members who've allowed us to remain independent of corporate interests and reach 20 million followers. Now is the time to bring as many people into the progressive movement as possible. We're inviting you to be the change and help bring a community-powered progressive change machine to life. Details are at tyt.com/change. If you're a member, thank you. We need you to remain so. If you're one of the thousands of viewers out there who's not a member yet, the time has come for you to join now. We need you more than ever. tyt.com/change.
Hi. A couple of your comments here. Over on Twitch, Dissident PM says that common saying, throwing them under the table. Yeah, bro. I don't want to know anything that Trump is doing on anybody's table. Start and Park Racing says, his quote, let me read you this Babylon Bee article from Matt Gaetz. Maybe The Onion as well, but that one's a little bit too lit for them probably. One more over on YouTube, Bessie Jackson, friend of the show, says, hello watchers, glad to see you all. Enjoy the show. Big hearts. Yeah, that's my mom's. If you find my father on the internet, specifically Facebook, don't follow him. He's crazy, but he's fun. A lot of fun things he has to say. Go find him. If you want some spiciness in your life. Let's go to this next story though. Go. We're in Tennessee. Go.
Bills have gone through now. The transgender bill, ban children's transgender therapy. That's on your desk. Drag bill heads back to the Senate for a quick amendment before it hits your desk. Comfortable signing those types of legislation?
Yeah, I expect to sign both of them.
Remember dressing in drag in 1977? Remember this?
What a ridiculous question that is. Conflating something like that to sexualized entertainment in front of children, which is a very serious subject.
Drag is not sexual.
Andy, what you got?
Do you remember it? Is this you?
Andy.
Is it okay if drag queens come to the school? Because this is you. This is you at a high school, Governor. This right here is you at a high school.
Yeah.
Is it only illegal when gay people do it, Governor?
Oh no. Governor Bill Lee of Tennessee was asked some very direct questions that he didn't want to know part of. How ridiculous. Apparently, he dressed in drag in high school. It's ironic because right now he's saying he's set to pass this bill that would ban drag performances in public and in front of children. I would assume that some of those folks in his high school in 1977 were children, considering they were under 18 years old. So as he's trying to pass this, he's actually have a little bit of this in his past. Other folks, other Republicans, specifically walking around in the state legislature, were asked about the same thing. They had answers that were about as bad as Bill Lee's. Let's watch them.
Johnny, have you seen this one? The governor in drag? Should have this been a felony, Chris? This is the governor in drag, 1977. Should that be illegal now? That's Governor Lee. It's a good question, huh? Should this be a criminal offense right here? What if I show this to the Boy Scouts?
Not back in the good old days, man.
High school, good old days.
Good old days, man.
That a felony. Are you on board for Drag Queen Story Hour? Should that be illegal? This should be okay, but that should be illegal. Remember you said drag makes you sick? This is Governor Lee in drag.
That Governor Lee's a good guy.
Yeah, even when he's in drag in front of kids on a high school campus? Admit it, you're criminalizing gay people is what you're doing. Right? This has been a felony.
That's sexually explicit. What is that?
Drag queens can go to high schools, Rusty? Is that what you're saying?
I did not say that. No,
It is.
No, it's
It
not.
is. It's
Fire
him.
pilot helmet.
It's him.
That is not him.
It is him. John Ray. You know who that is? Do you know who this is? You're a lawyer. Should this have been a felony?
Justin's good to see
On a
you
high
today.
school campus. Look at his legs. He's got nice legs though, doesn't he?
And on and on and on and on. They knew who he is, and they saw that picture. Only one kind of didn't believe it. But the one thing that was definitely across the board there was, oh, but that's Governor Lee. He's a good guy. When he put on a dress and heels and a wig, it's just because he was having fun. The difference here is those are gays, and we effing hate them. Just say it. I mean, that's what your constituents are hearing, and that's what they're supporting. So that's exactly what it is that you're saying. Here's that bill that they're supporting as they brush this off. The legislation bans, quote, adult-oriented entertainment that is, quote, harmful to minors from public property in places where they might be seen by children. The law specifically mentions go-go dancers, exotic dancers, and strippers, and male or female impersonators. The latter of which includes drag performance. I think we can see that coming because obviously being naked in front of kids is already a crime. But the difference here is they want to say, hey, if you're dressing in what we don't consider to be clothing that matches what we deem you to be wearing, then it's a crime. It starts as a misdemeanor, then it can move on to a felony as well. Let's take a look at that picture of Governor Lee. I feel like everybody may want to see that. This is what they were showing to those Congress, to those state legislators walking around in the halls. Quote, this is from the yearbook in 1977 in high school. Hard luck woman. Last I heard, us libs don't know how to define a woman. But apparently neither do these conservatives, because there he is hanging out. Lee's office did respond to the photo though, even though he didn't want to originally. They said, but that's different. But this is different. Lee's office told the Daily Beast on Monday saying that any attempt to conflate this serious issue with lighthearted school traditions is dishonest and disrespectful to Tennessee families. Sure it is. It's dishonest and disrespectful. So why were you wearing the dress, bro? What were you doing with it? Is it fun? Was it direct? Was it serious? Maybe when people are performing and they're entertaining folks, maybe they're having fun too. Or maybe you just hate them because of what you assume about them. One other thing about this hate thing, because Governor Lee does like to dress up in his old days. Because when he went off to Auburn University, he liked to dress up as a Confederate soldier there too. And by the way, for part of his frat parties that they had, and it was at Kappa Alpha House. And they had an annual tradition of the good old South, and also the birthday of Confederate Army Commander Robert E. Lee. He later said he regrets participating in these old South parties, which, by the way, just were halted by some of these universities was in 2010.
I mean, rocking a Confederate soldier's uniform in Alabama, that's like rocking a dashiki during Kwanzaa. That ain't nothing but regular fare, JR. I'm not gonna kill him for that. That's just normal where he's from. However, I think he gave his answer in a legitimately honest and candid way. He thinks that anything having to do with people who are part of the drag community or people who might address or identify as anything other than their, birth assigned gender, they're sexual, period. No matter what they're doing, it's sexual because he just feels uncomfortable when he has to think about those people. And his uncomfort stems from something sexual. That's it. It's his own uncomfortability about those people and their existence. They don't have to actually be doing anything sexual in its nature. He sexualizes them, by himself. And so I think he was honest in his answer. He thinks anything drag is sexual.
Well, that's the thing. And as long as they say it directly and openly and go, it's actually the gay folks that we hate because we know they're saying it. Just say it, bro. You guys say it in every other form. Just say it here. But there's some reason they want to hide that fact and then, act like that's not really what they're doing because there's lots of folks who participate in these power to puff football games and stuff like that. But notice they didn't point out how the girls dressed up in football uniforms and tried to act like guys. We know how these whole things work, but still, it's just fun. It's just fun. He's a good guy. Let's skip one, you guys. Let's go to Block E here because I want to make sure we get to Marjorie Taylor Greene and her outrage over how she's being treated in public. I'm gonna say it again. Marjorie Taylor Greene is upset about how she's being treated in public. Let's watch this.
David, why are you supporting the red flag laws? If Scott Peterson, the resource officer at Parkland, had done his job, then Nicholas Cruz wouldn't have killed anybody in your high school, or at least protected them. Why are you supporting red flag gun laws that attack our Second Amendment rights? And why are you using kids to get to as a barrier? Do you not know how to defend your stance? Look, I'm an American citizen. I'm a gun owner. I have a concealed carry permit. I carry a gun for protection. You don't have anything to say for yourself? You can't defend your stance?
There's Marjorie Taylor Greene, as you remember, stalking and harassing David Hogg as he was walking down the street because she was mad at him for trying to do something about how many children die in school shootings as he witnessed in his own school. But now she's talking about how she was attacked in a restaurant. Folks approached her and started berating her. It was outrageous. As a matter of fact, let's look at her tweet of how outraged she was by this. I was attacked in a restaurant tonight by an insane woman, not women, and screamed at by her adult son. They had no respect for the restaurant or the staff or the people dining or people like me who simply have different political views. That's her problem. She says they are self-righteous, insane, and completely out of control. I was sitting at my table working with my staff and never even noticed these people until they turned into demons. People used to respect others, even if they had different views. I'm gonna say it again. Marjorie Taylor Greene wrote, people used to respect others, even if they had different views, but not anymore. Our country is gone. If it's gone, why don't you get the hell out? It's gone, right? It's over, it's done. Why are you still serving? Why are you still in the office? It's gone. They say things like this. That's a Donald Trump line. Why don't you leave then? It's one of their favorite lines as well. Anyway, according to her staff, this mother and her son walked up, started yelling, screamed obscenities, started kind of calmly, probably startled them a bit and they didn't know what was going on. So all this happened and she's outraged by it. By the way, we saw her stalking David Hogg out along the streets. But the thing is after that wasn't the end of it. She decided to go and film herself again, bragging about how, what was the term? Out of control and insane people are. Watch.
I'm fine with not even debating David. I'll debate his mom. Like, come on, mom and a mama.
Mom and mama, come on, mama.
You want to run your
I'm
mouth,
not gonna.
lady?
Yeah, you can be like, look, I just don't want to pick on a little 18-year-old kid, okay? You know,
I already picked on him twice, and he ran away from me.
Exactly,
So,
that happens.
you know, he
I think
ran
I met
away.
you at the DCV Heller.
Just tell her, say, hey, you gonna run your hog chops like that?
I've posted it on my Facebook page. I have challenged her and him to a debate.
I've already picked on him enough times. In other words, harassed him walking down the street, as everyone saw. It was her claim to fame. There's another claim to fame that she had. It's weird because Marjorie Taylor Greene's entire political career is based off of her harassing, stalking, and being insane and out of control. Here she is before she was in office in 2019, outside of AOC's office with other cohorts, doing things like this.
You want to talk to Crazy Ocasio? You come to this little thing and you open it up and you whisper into her.
Session.
This is confession. This is Ocasio confession right here.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, I'm an American citizen. I pay your salary through the taxes that you collect from me through the IRS. And I do not support your socialist policies, and I do not support your murderous abortion policies. So you need to stop being a baby and stop locking your door and come out and face the American citizens that you serve. If you want to be a big girl, you need to get rid of your diaper and come out and be able to talk to the American citizens.
You want to be a big girl, Marge? You should stand up and talk to your constituents that came up screaming obscenities at you, because that's the way we're supposed to be, right? If someone comes up to you and gets in your face and screams obscenities about how much they hate you and disagree with your policies, you should go, well, I like this conversation. This is America. It's weird how once you're on the other side of it, that it's a problem.
Yeah, you know what's funny, man? The groups and the sort of corners of the right wing universe that produced Marjorie Taylor Greene, a lot of their stuff is about how DC changes people. And it's funny because Marjorie Taylor Greene is now a beautiful, shining example of how DC changes people, right? Now she's one of those prominent people, important people that can get picked on in public by strangers. And she's like, ew, who let these pores into my nice restaurant while I was enjoying my nice meal? Like she's over it. And it's funny because also we remember the Matt Gaetz situation where he was throwing a temper tantrum during the speaker vote, and she broke with Matt Gaetz and them. Yeah. She was stumping for McCarthy and his speakership, which shows you that she's been let into the club, and she's now one of those people that she's been railing against and all of that. And it's just hilarious, man, because that's one of the tropes of that side of the political divide. It's how corrupting DC is, and quite frankly, it's pretty true. And Marjorie Taylor Greene is just a wonderful example of all of that.
You'll find that even more so, it's all performative in the first place. So in getting there, anytime someone records and posts all of their harassment and wants some clout for it, and then once they come their way, they don't see the irony of them complaining about the same thing. What is it that changed? And again, maybe she's gotten a little bit of establishment. Maybe the establishment of the Republican Party leaned
Jayar, her status has changed. She's now a high status person, and she's like, the plebes should not be allowed to talk to me. I don't want to talk to poor people. I don't want them yelling at me over my Caesar salad. I don't like it, JR. So stop.
You're right. I don't like Caesar salad either. It's just kind of a waste of time.
Wow, hate for Caesar salad. Oh my goodness.
Is Caesar salad popular? I thought it's like
good. It's really good. And if you have it from scratch, don't just get the Caesar salad bottle from the supermarket. Next time you go to a restaurant and they're like, no, the guy's gonna make the Caesar salad on the spot, like whipping it up with the oil and the egg yolk and the anchovies and all that. It's fantastic.
Literally never seen that happen ever in my life.
Yeah, you gotta do it.
I guess, all you New Yorkers, live it up there. We're real gritty people here in Los Angeles. I just want to point that out.
Exactly.
Let's jump to this next story. It's February 28th, you guys. Rent is due for you renters out there tomorrow. couple days short of all these other months. So if you want some tips on if you're a landlord or even a renter, here's tips. These guys are letting you know, they're educating you guys. Watch.
All right, thanks for paying your rent this month. Go ahead and sign here. It's just gonna ask you a couple of questions.
A tip? I'm not tipping my landlord.
So you'll tip a barista who pours overpriced coffee into a cup, but not the guy who's on call 24/7 to make sure you have a safe home.
I'm not tipping you. This isn't a restaurant.
Okay, so you'll tip an extra 25% for somebody to carry you a basket of chicken wings, but you won't tip someone who responds for after-hours emergency calls? Yep. Well, I guess when it's time for your lease renewal, I'm gonna make sure gratuity is included in your rent. It's a little tip I learned from Two Guys Take on Real Estate.
It's a little tip I learned, because landlords or even owners of buildings and residences where people rent apparently should be tipped now. That's according to these guys known as Two Guys Take on Real Estate. And they're giving some advice to not only landlords, but also to renters, I guess. If you're one of those green-haired renters that doesn't understand anything or wilds out when someone says, yo, we have a contract for how much money you can be paying us every month, but we're gonna change that. As a matter of fact, you should tip us for doing normal things like taking care of the building. I think that's baked into what people pay rent for. But still, it's not their only video. They go through many instances and scenarios that they've made up about things that people deal with, and mainly what landlords deal with, and things they can and can't do. So I guess to give them some credit, this is one example that they have of things that landlords can't do.
You can't evict me for not paying rent. Housing is a human right.
He doesn't know what I know. Watch this.
Hey! Hey! He doesn't know what I know. Watch this. Just because I stopped paying doesn't mean you can stop your services. That's a constructive eviction. I'm suing.
I knew I shouldn't have rushed into becoming a landlord without learning by following Two Guys Take on Real Estate here and on YouTube.
It's good acting. One more. Let's watch another one. Same thing.
Hey! You can't evict me. Housing's a human right.
You can afford a brand new luxury car, but you won't pay your rent? He doesn't know what I know.
Hey!
He's not paying for rent, I'm not paying for heat.
Hey!
No rent, no water for you. Not that he showers anyway.
Hey, landlord, you can't turn off my services. That's a constructive eviction. I'm suing.
Hey, what? You're telling me I have to provide all my services even though you're not a paying customer? How did someone like you outsmart someone like me?
That's because you don't follow Two Guys Take on Real Estate.
So I don't know how many of these channels are. We did something before where someone was making up a whole story about evicting someone. But I guess there's a lot of resources for landlords and owners of buildings for them to find new and inventive ways to harass and go after their tenants. Now, if someone's not paying them, of course, there's a process for doing these types of things. But again, one thing that bugs me is when people start pointing out what it is that people have. Fox News did this years ago when people were on government assistance monetarily, and they're like, but they've got a refrigerator at home. Mm-hmm. How is it they're keeping their eggs and cheese fresh? Well, they have a refrigerator, but what is it you want people to not have if they're then paying $3,000 a month for a box in the middle of the city? Because yes, that is what people are paying. And then they go, you have a luxury car out front. You don't know, first off, your determination of a luxury car and how they got it has nothing to do with what they're being paid, what you're being paid in your rent. But
I mean, this is shoddily done and extremely heartless and disgusting and callous. And I don't see how anybody, when majority of the population are renters and not owners and landlords, I don't know who's supposed to be sympathizing with these guys and making their content popular, but that's neither here nor there. But again, like just the idea that somebody would tip you for the right to help you pay your mortgage down, it's just, it's absurd. Like it's really truly absurd. And if you want to get into the business of housing people, then you better be ready to deal with some hardships, right? You want to make a profit off of housing an individual, you better be ready to deal with some real life stuff, because it's one of the most basic of needs, having a roof over your head. And if you decide this is the sector of the economy that you're gonna make your money from, be ready to deal with some unpleasant consequences, and not expect people to thank you for the privilege of exploiting them by having to pay your mortgage with their rent. Like that's just what it is. Like your mortgage is being paid down by their rent, brother. That's it.
Straight up, and that's the purpose. And people say, hey, invest in some properties. You can make money off of people living and having a roof over their head. Sure, it is a thing. And people may bristle at you saying things like, yo, if you're looking to own property or make your money in this capacity, then maybe you should be ready for the tough things that come with it. Renters, they'll be like, if you're gonna rent, you have to make sure you know what's gonna come with it. They tell you this all the time, and apparently that's accepted, but it's not accepted if you tell the folks that have whatever amounts of money they put into this, that they have to deal with people. And actually have to deal with things that happen around that. It's a tough thing. I can't say I would be willing to do it either. You never know what type of person and what type of behaviors and activities they like to deal in that you're gonna have to deal with, or that building that you now own and what happens to it while you ask for tips instead. Which, by the way, I'm not sure if I'm a bad guy, but I don't like tipping. It's why I don't generally tend to involve myself in things where I'm required to tip. You won't find me at a restaurant where Marjorie Taylor Greene can run up on me and start harassing me, because I'm not big on those service industry types of things. I won't get the Domino's pizza delivered to my house. I'll go pick the damn thing up myself. That's me. So if you don't like tipping, or if you don't want to be in that business, then find a way around it, right?
Yeah, I don't think anybody likes to tip. I think most people understand that, especially for something like a certain type of restaurant, you have to. But I'm with you to the extent that I think restaurants should just add the cost. Period. I understand that there's a certain sticker price for consumers when they see a certain price off the rip, and it makes them, they're just like, oh man, I don't know if I should be paying for this. And then like when they do the tip on the back, for whatever reason, there's just a different feeling towards people. But I do wish restaurants would just off the top, just take a certain percentage or mark up the prices so that they can just pay their employees whatever it is they need to be paid. Some people do, and you know about it, but not all of them do, JR. They're counting on us to do it.
It's not like, your local Olive Garden back in 1994 has the same prices now as they did then. So prices have gone up, and that's natural. We get it.
So JR, you're just $5. You're just out on tipping. You're just out.
You know that? No. Yeah, but in the situations where you have to tip, if I'm in that situation, yes, I do. And in fact, I tip quite well. But when I know I'm getting myself in that situation, I try to avoid being in that situation. So yes, I've been clowned for years about how I don't like going out to eat. I don't like going out to eat. That's one of the reasons. Because regardless of whether or not this food is nasty, I gotta tip this guy because he's working his ass off for $2.95.
Yes, you do.
So the price go up.
You gotta tip the guy for his work. He didn't work on the bad steak or the bad spaghetti.
I'm subsidizing pasta. The Olive Garden. I'm subsidizing them and their employees. I didn't hire them. Pay them.
Yeah, I agree with that.
My rant is over. I just want to leave it at this. When I'm in those situations, I'm perfectly fine doing it. I just don't like being in those situations. Let's try to wrap up this. Isn't nothing wrong with that, right?
JR is coming for your tips, America.
There's nothing wrong with that, right?
He's on top of
it. What about when I do pick up the food? There's still a line for tipping. I was like, bro, I'm right here.
Yeah, nah. To me, if you're literally doing every single part of the work outside of taking your own order, in some places with the kiosk, you do take your own freaking order, and making the food, like I think the tip is absolutely optional there. But like, if you sit down at a restaurant, a guy's serving you and he's giving you all these pointers about the menu, and he's specialty, and he's making your order, he's making sure they make your order exactly how you want it, even though it's a bunch of alterations to what's on the freaking menu and all of that stuff.
That's extra.
Yeah, these guys deserve something, But yeah, there's these hybrid places where they make you place the order first and then blah, blah, blah. And it's just like,
I did everything.
Am I really being served here?
I did everything but put the chef's hat on and go back there and fry this sumbitch up myself. Just saying. Fine, we'll go to the next story. Emilio's pushing me. I enjoyed this conversation. Let's go to this next story. You don't want to be in this situation either, especially if you had a girls' basketball game. Check this out. That was a scene from a girls' basketball game. The gentleman there attacking someone else in the stands is apparently the head coach for that girls' team. And the person he jumped on, I guess, spectator, father, brother, cousin, uncle, someone associated with, I guess, someone on the team. But he had enough. I don't know what was being said to him, but definitely what was being said was enough to set him off. This incident happened in Virginia at the end of the Richlands contest. Richlands is a school against Wise Central. A few days ago, when the Richlands coach, his name is Tom Rife, he went after a man behind that bench, as you could see. And in that broadcast footage of the game, the person in that in the white T-shirt appeared to say some things, and it set that guy off. Now, the Tazewell County Public Schools Dr. Christopher Stacy said in a statement a day after the incident that they've launched an investigation. Man, everything is getting investigated. Look at the video, see what happened, talk to him, and see what went down next. What's the investigation outside of just getting people to stop talking about this? So they say they don't condone the issues and all that stuff that's happening. But then again, let's watch it again, because there was moments like this when I was in high school playing basketball, and I thought this would have gone there because I had a fiery head coach. Again, I don't know what was said, but my man said, time out. It's time to jump in the stands and Ron Artest this guy. Watch again. It was over from there. Also, that guy in the stands is a better person than me, because once somebody has a hold of my collar, there's no just standing there. The woman who posted this over on Twitter, she said the Good Old Boy Network fired coach, the previous coach she's apparently liked, who was amazing and had the emotional intelligence to control themselves to the bare minimum we expect of our student athletes. And they replaced him with this: our girls deserve better. I expect the immediate termination of head coach Tom Rife. And of course, there's folks in the comments that were like, you don't know what that guy said to him. You don't know if they touched girls or said something about them. One person did say that. Before firing the coach, find out what happened. Those are young women. If a line was crossed by the spectator, touching or assaulting one of the girls, then the coach may have been justified to hold him until police arrived. I don't know if that happened. Maybe it's part of the investigation. But she responded to all these folks saying, no, that's not what happened. I live there. I know what's going down. This guy's a bad guy. So I guess it's a bit of he said, she said. But I'm not going to say my old coach's name, but man, there was a few times I was like, yo, I think he's going to jump over these chairs and head to the stands. He did not like much of anything happening. I guess it was fiery.
I've never had a mellow basketball coach like in my entire life. I'm talking about from grade school when we started playing organized up until high school, which is when I stopped playing organized basketball. I've never had a mellow, calm, just cool, Phil Jackson type Zen master coach. That's never been the case. All of my coaches have been fiery, really mega intense type of dudes. That being said, I would love to know what that younger gentleman had to say. Perhaps he didn't like the press coverage that they were playing. Maybe they were in a zone and he felt like they should play man. Who knows? Maybe he felt like the motion offense wasn't being ran effectively. He probably had some lineup issues with the rotation. Maybe some of the best players weren't getting enough minutes, or maybe he wasn't mixing and matching the talent in the proper way. We don't know. It might have been a valid critique of strategy. We don't know what he was screaming about.
And maybe it's the way he said it. I guess that's the problem. Because again, people point out potentially there's these, fathers in the stands who are like, you're not playing.
You can't put hands on people though. You can't put hands on people.
Yeah, I mean, from that point.
To me, that's when you got to get security involved and be like police. Like, yo, get him out of here.
Which he did secondarily to the snatch. He snatches, then he says, come get him. Come get him, bro. Bro, you're the one that's in the stands. I don't know. I kind of give him props for the timeout. He's like, listen, we're not coaching during this timeout. We're scrapping.
Jayar, are any of your kids in youth sports yet?
Yeah, my kid plays baseball and he wants to play basketball. Which
are you one of those crazy screaming lunatic parents in the stands? Be real. Be honest.
Not at all. Every year that the kid has played, I make sure that I'm one of the coaches involved, so I can scream usefully.
So you're allowed. You're in a position where you're allowed to scream at folks.
Yeah, but the problem is I'm always the good guy coach. I was actually coaching with this other gentleman who was one of those crazed ones, and I was the good cop. He was the bad cop, to use a horrible term. But I was the one who was like, okay, you guys do this. I was like the Zen master. Once they're in the dugout halfway crying, I'm like, okay, this is what you do. And I make sure they go through the right steps to move on to the next thing. We sucked.
So there were no baseball moms or dads that you've had to yell at and be like, hey, take it easy. You know,
I never had to. I wanted to. There was one umpire that I almost got into it with. We're not gonna go down that story again. But that was his fault. I want to ask you one question because Toolman Tim51 over on Twitch asked this, and I'm curious now. Big Waz, have you ever been to Brian Tsau's sandwich shop, Mission Sandwich Social? I'm not sure what that means. Maybe
I have not. Mission Sandwich Social. No, should I be checking that out? Is that in New York? I'm gonna Google it as soon as I get off of this, because y'all know I'm the greediest man on the TYT network. So Well,
if you do, post. I want to see about this. Lastly, before we get out of here, because the show's over. Bill's Dragon Circles the Wagons over on TYT members says, JR, you got to expand that palette. Get some crudité with that Caesar salad. No, neither one. I'm not tipping either. Thanks, Waz, for being on the show. Go enjoy the sandwich shop down at Brian Tsau's shop, Mission. Thank you guys for also being with us as well. Up next, the Young Turks will speak with you. That's Cenk Uygur and Anna Kasparian. We'll see you guys tomorrow.